Retire at 55 or wait until 65. It sounds like a simple math problem. Add up your savings, subtract your spending, and see if the numbers work. But here's the truth. This decision isn't just about money. It can reshape how many healthy years you actually get to enjoy, the trips you can take, and even the quality of your marriage. And by the way, stick with me because in the next few minutes, I'll show you 3 things. First, a simple way to handle the healthcare gap before Medicare that can save you thousands a year. Second, how to structure a bridge income between 55 and 59 and a half without stepping on penalties. And third, that third door I mentioned, how to get more time and less stress without retiring tomorrow. After 25 years helping families make this choice, I've learned the real question isn't when can I afford to retire? It's what will it cost me to keep working and what will it cost me to stop? I'm Kurt Soupy, CPA and retirement planner for over 25 years and co-founder of Creative Financial Group back in 2004. Now, if you came here looking for a simple answer, always retire at 55 or always wait until 65, this isn't it. Real life has nuance, so let's dive in. There's a 10-year window from about 55 to 65 where many people have both money and health at the same time. I call it the vitality window. Earlier in life, the energy is there, but the money often isn't. Later, the money's there, but the knees, the back, or the energy may not be. That window doesn't stay open forever, and the way you navigate it can reshape everything from your travel list, to your taxes, to your time with your family. Now, the best way to really understand these trade-offs is to look at a real-life example. So let me walk you through a couple I worked with recently. We'll call them Mark and Lisa. Both 54, right on the edge of that vitality window and facing the same decision you might be wrestling with. Mark's a senior project manager and he's tired of 60-hour weeks and meeting about the meeting culture. Lisa loves her work in healthcare administration and she sleeps better knowing they have a strong cushion. On paper, they look great. A paid-off home, about $1.9 million between 401ks, IRAs, and brokerage accounts, solid Social Security records, and no debt. But they were stuck on one question: 55 or 65. And that's where most people get trapped, not by the math, but the way the question's framed. So we reframed it. Rather than when can we afford to retire, the real question became when can we afford to design the life we actually want? In a moment, I'll show you the 3 plans we tested for them: 55, 65, and the third door. But before that, we need to address a costly assumption I see all the time. Many people assume early retirement is simply traditional retirement moved up. It isn't. The rules change. If you stop at 55, your money lives behind regulatory walls. Most retirement accounts charge penalties for withdrawals before 59 and a half. Medicare doesn't start until 65, and Social Security isn't available until 62. And delaying towards 70 can be a massive benefit. So if you're thinking about 55, you don't just need enough. You need a plan for those early years, what I call your bridge strategy. On paper, delaying to 65 usually looks better. Larger balances, bigger Social Security, employer health coverage, fewer years drawing down. But here's what that spreadsheet won't show you: the life you can't buy back. The chance to hike with strong knees, to take that 4-week river cruise without worrying about PTO, to chase grandkids around the yard at full speed. I've seen people wait just one more year for 5 straight years, and then a diagnosis takes the big trips off the table. I've also seen people rush into early retirement without a plan for health insurance or purpose and feel more anxious than they did at work. Both mistakes are expensive, just in different currencies. Think of 55 versus 65 as 2 trails on the same mountain. Trail A, if you retire at 55, more time while you're at your healthiest, more planning, complexity, higher upfront healthcare costs, requires precise income design. Or Trail B, retire at 65. More financial cushion, simpler logistics, Medicare, no early penalties, but fewer health years at the front end. This isn't a universally right trail. There's your trail. Here's where most people advice falls short. Early retirement is not set it and forget it. It's engineered. And 4 moving parts matter more than anything: cash flow and bridge income from 55 to 59 and a half, healthcare before Medicare, taxes and withdrawal order, and last, Social Security timing. So let's break these down in plain English, and then I'll reveal a third door. Between 55 and 59 and a half, you want dollars you can access without paying that 10% penalty. There are 3 common ways to do it. First, taxable brokerage accounts. This is your flexible bridge. Long-term capital gains and dividends can be tax efficient, and there's no age restriction. Second, the rule of 55. If you separate from your employer in the year you turn 55 or later, you can take penalty-free withdrawals from that employer's 401k. Now, this is often overlooked because people rush to roll their 401k into an IRA and lose the option. Slow down and plan the sequence. And third, 72T. These are preset equal payments from an IRA for 5 years or longer, or until 59 and a half. It's rigid, but it's a tool you can use. In Mark and Lisa's case, we built a 4-year bridge using their brokerage account and measured 401k draws under the rule of 55. That way, we didn't have to touch the IRAs early or commit to a rigid 72T. The Medicare gap is where many early retirement dreams crash. Depending on your location and plan, private coverage can run hundreds to over thousands of dollars per month, per person. That adds up for those 5 to 10 years. But here's the part that gets missed. Those premiums are often tied to your household income. If you can adjust your adjusted gross income in certain ranges, you may qualify for significant subsidies on the exchange. Translation, your investment strategy and your health insurance strategies are the same conversion during these years. Here's how we did it for Mark and Lisa. For withdrawals, we prioritized their taxable account for living expenses in the early years, harvesting gains strategically so their taxable income stayed controlled. Then for Roth conversions, we carefully wove in smaller conversions in years when we could fill low tax brackets without disqualifying them from help on premiums. And finally, we delayed tapping their IRAs, leaving the big IRA dollars largely untouched until after 59 and a half. The result? Health coverage went from deal breaker to manageable line item. It wasn't free, but it wasn't the 5-figure surprise they feared. When the paycheck stops, which account you pull from and when can change your lifetime taxes by 6 figures. Think of your accounts as 3 buckets. Taxable, which are brokerage accounts, capital gains and dividends, flexible for bridges, and great for controlling income. Tax deferred. These are 401ks and traditional IRAs. They're taxed as ordinary income when withdrawn. Big balances here can create big required minimum distributions later. Tax-free. These are your Roth IRA. No taxes on qualified withdrawals, no RMDs for you, and incredibly great flexibility. A common path we use looks like this. In the early years, taxable first with care, sprinkle in tax deferred, rule of 55 if applicable, and considered measurable Roth conversions while rates are favorable before Social Security and Medicare complicate things. In the mid-years, blend is needed to fill tax brackets intentionally, never accidentally. And in later years, use Roth for flexibility, for surprises, and legacy efficiency. This isn't set at once and walk away. We revisit this at least annually because markets, tax laws, and your life all move. Social Security is more than a monthly check. It's a risk management tool. Delaying benefits can provide larger inflation-adjusted income for life, which reduces pressure on your portfolio in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. For couples with longevity in the family, having the higher earner delay can materially improve the survivor benefit down the road. Now, that said, if your health is compromised or your cash flow can't support delay, claiming earlier can make sense. No absolutes, only trade-offs. So where did Mark and Lisa land? I promised 3 scenarios and a surprising winner. Let's walk through them. Scenario A, retire at 55, bridge income from a brokerage and a measured 401k draw, ACA coverage with managed income, Social Security delayed towards 70 for a larger check. The upside, 10 extra prime years, more travel, more time with adult kids before grandkids arrive, and schedule tighten. Trade-offs, higher planning complexity, a thinner margin if market underperforms early, tight guardrails on those spending in the first 5 to 7 years. The verdict, doable, but they need discipline and need to be okay with fewer big trips if the first few market years were rough. Scenario B, retire at 65 is the classic path. Keep working, more savings, bigger Social Security, employer coverage until Medicare. Upside, simpler, strong cushion. Trade-offs, mark stress continued, fewer go-go years up front, the risk they accumulate more than they'd ever spend while feeling exhausted. Verdict, financially the easiest, but personally misaligned. Let's talk about scenario C. The third door. This is what most people miss. We designed a downshift for Mark starting at 56. transitioning from a high-stress corporate role to a project-based consulting 3 to 4 days a week and then 2 to 3 days by 58, 59. Income dropped 50%, but his stress dropped 90%. Health insurance moved to the exchanges with planned income for subsidies. We used the extra time to front-load travel and family visits in those first few go-go years while still contributing modestly to savings and doing small annual Roth conversions. Verdict: the best of both. Relief now, strong plan later, so they chose this one. Let me say something people rarely hear from a numbers guy. Your satisfaction won't come from a balance sheet. It will come from aligning your time, energy, and money. Research and real life both show people are happiest when they're engaged socially, physically, and mentally. For some, that's full retirement with a packed calendar. For others, it's purposeful work that doesn't feel like work at all. Mentoring, teaching part-time, consulting, or finally building that dream hobby you've talked about for over 20 years. If you retire early without a plan for how you'll spend your time, the honeymoon ends fast. If you work longer without a plan for why, resentment builds. The sweet spot is intentional design. Let's dismantle a few beliefs that keep people stuck. Everyone retires at 65, and that's not true. Retirement isn't a one-size-fits-all milestone. It's personal. If your financial picture and your values point to 58, 61, or a completely different path like that third door, that's perfectly valid. The right age isn't about tradition, it's about alignment. More is always better. If accumulating one more year of salary comes at the cost of your best years, the ROI isn't always there. Define enough and then write it down. I'll spend the same forever. Spending often follows the go-go, slow-go, no-go arc. Many families spend more in their late 50s and 60s on travel and experiences and less later. Plan for that curve on purpose. Healthcare makes early retirement impossible. It makes it complex, but not impossible. You have to manage your taxable income, sequence withdrawals, and know your threshold. It's work, but it's doable. Here's a simple framework we use in my practice. Use this to pressure test your own plan. Step number 1, clarify your vitality goals. List the top 5 experiences you want in the next 10 to 12 years. And you have to be specific. Hike the glacier with the grandkids, 6-week European trip, volunteer 2 days a week, build the lake cabin. Those drive the math. Step number 2 is map 3 scenarios. A full stop at age 55 to 58, or a full stop at age 65 to 67, or the third door. Downshift part-time, do some consulting. For each step, estimate spending, especially front-loaded experience in the first decade. Build your bridge, inventory your taxable account. This is your early years shock absorber. Check if a rule of 55 withdrawal strategy applies and decide whether a 72T makes sense. Step number 4, tame healthcare. Price your options, coordinate income to qualify for premium help where appropriate. Don't accidentally blow your eligibility with a poorly timed Roth conversion. I see that mistake all the time. Engineer withdrawals and taxes. Choose an order: taxable, tax deferred, Roth with exceptions as brackets allow. Consider measured Roth conversions in low income years to shrink future RMDs and then revisit that annually. Step number 6, decide Social Security intentionally. Run it for both spouses. You have to consider longevity, survivor benefits, and cash flow needs. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. Pick the one that supports the math and peace of mind. So what did Mark and Lisa do? They chose the third door. Mark switched to consulting at 56, and Lisa kept working full-time through 60 and went part-time until 62. Here's how it worked in practice. They used their brokerage assets and modest 401k draws under the rule of 55 for the first 3 years. They managed taxable income to keep exchange premiums reasonable. They staged Roth conversions in a few targeted years to avoid punishing RMDs later. And they delayed the larger Social Security benefit for the stronger lifetime income and a better survivor benefit. And they front-loaded travel while they felt great, with guardrails on spending if markets had a really bad year early. 2 years later, Mark said, that constant knot in my stomach is gone, and we've already crossed 2 trips off our bucket list. And then Lisa added, I actually work again, but now it's on my terms. If your heart is pulling you towards 55 or 57 or 60, here's what I want you to do before you resign. Price healthcare for the next 3 to 10 years. Inventory your taxable assets. You need to have a clear bridge. Model a downshift option. Even if you think you won't want it, options are power. And stress test your plan for a rough first 2 market years. If it still works, you're going to sleep better. If you love your work or you want the simplest path, 65 can be a great choice. Use the extra years to pile up flexibility, cash reserves, home improvements, dream trips booked and paid for. Consider charitable bunching or donor-advised funds in high-income years if giving is a part of your plan. And most importantly, don't delay just because that's what people do. Delay because it serves the life you want. So let me leave you with this. If you've ever wondered, how do I take the money I've saved and turn it into reliable income I can actually live on? That's the question you need answered next. Click the first link in the description below to book a time with one of our advisors. They'll help guide you through how your lifestyle, assets, and goals come together to shape your retirement income. It could save you years of stress and uncertainty. Because retirement isn't about fear, it's about clarity and confidence in living the life you've worked so hard to build. Thanks for watching.